What's up, everybody? It's Thursday, and that means another episode of Chasin Birdies. Ryan Bashauer here with my man, JP.
What's up, everyone? Exciting week. Hope everybody enjoyed the banter session. It's always fun to talk to the boys, eh?
I know, bud. I know. We got a lot of good feedback on that one. It's nice letting people look into our life a little bit, you know?
Right. I'm sorry, guys. We're not doing this one first. I'm on the road. But we have an exciting one this week with Kelly O'Donnell, the director of golf from Nemacolin. I'll tell you what, he's got stories for days. He was with Ben Hogan for 10 years, working by his side, and man, it's just dynamite stories.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Kelly, getting to know him a little more, he's got a big job up there at Nemacolin, taking care of the golf course, the operations, and whatnot.
Well, I'm trying to get you to the range picker job, so.
Hey, I would love to take that job, man. Believe me, I would trade everything in right now maybe to just pick the range up there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, smoke a cigar, pick the range, hang out with Kelly O'Donnell afterwards. Life's good. And please, everyone, make sure you go check out nemacolin.com. Beautiful. We'll get into it with Kelly, but go check it out for yourself. And let's roll it right over to Kelly O'Donnell, all the way from
Texas, living in Farmington, Pennsylvania. You guys enjoy this episode with Kelly O'Donnell, and we'll check you out later. As you all know by now, Chasin Birdies is proud to be partners with Holderness and Bourne. Check them out online at hbgolf.com. Holderness and Bourne makes fabulous pieces that help you look good on the course, even if your game is not up to par. Check out their new arrivals now for this golf season. Also, head on over to chasinbirdies.com to get some custom Chasin Birdie gear from Holderness and Bourne. We'll continue to drop these pieces through every season. That's chasinbirdies.com and Holderness and Bourne at hbgolf.com. So here we are with another roundtable discussion on Chasin Birdies. Well, again, not live, but yes.
But he's in person.
Our guest today is in person. You can hear him laughing at us. Kelly O'Donnell here from Nemacolin, director of golf. Can't thank you enough for giving us your time. We know it's valuable, so welcome onto the show. How you doing, Kelly?
I'm doing great. You know, it's been months. I've been waiting daily to be on the show for months.
It's not easy
since I first got here in February. So, you know,
well,
I guess everybody else bowed out and you had an open time for me, so I happened to be here. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because there is a management aspect to setting up these episodes, and so we kind of stagger recording as much as we can in a short period of time. So we were like, hey, we're going to be recording now, so let's get Kelly on the lineup.
Yeah.
So here we are.
And they're a sponsor of Chasin Birdies, Nemacolin, so this all ties in with the director of golf. And from what I hear, Kelly has some stories.
Yeah, some of them are true, some of them aren't.
We'll try to.
What did we say earlier? As I get older, my stories get a lot better.
The time,
and, you know, more people die, so they can't verify or deny what I say. So
we've got friends like that, so don't worry.
That's not.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have said that. But
they're still alive too, but our friends are for that matter. So tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, you're in
Farmington, Pennsylvania. Who would have thought, right?
I would not have thought that. So, you know, been in the golf business a long time. I think I started an assistant golf pro in 1984, you know, when most of us still weren't around yet, or, you know, for those of us that were around back then, you know, I still say that I played my best golf when I had persimmon in my golf bag. So I still miss those days, and we'll get into where that game's gone from there. But, you know, I had the great opportunity to work for Mr. Ben Hogan. You know, I got to do that for a long time as well, but and work for many other manufacturers. Gosh, I helped start the Reed Lockhart Golf Company many years ago, which was blades and persimmon woods, and that didn't go very well, but we had a pretty good following for a while. And had I known that was kind of the test market to where we see golf now, there's a cool factor that we've been searching and looking for that in golf for like a few decades, because, you know, it was golfers aren't athletic, and look at all the weird stuff they wear, and it takes too long and it's too hard. But, you know, you can see that, you know, like through your podcast, and there's other ones, and just there's great social media now. And when we talk about everything that's happened the last 18 months with COVID, well, they should have asked golfers. Golf was going to explode during this time because you're out on your own. You're outside. You're doing what you like best. You know, golf can be very social, but it's really you, your clubs, and the golf ball trying to get in the hole ultimately.
Right.
And you share that passion with other people. And you know, as we're getting more and more people into golf, which I love, you can't really share with a new person who hadn't played golf what the perfect shot feels like until they experience that. Then on the other end, you can't share the madness of how many people don't play anymore because they can't get it in the hole from 3 feet.
Right.
But I love where the game's going, you know, even through what's going on in our environment. You know, we're back to wearing masks here again at Nemacolin. But I still think there's a strong desire and there's a great opportunity for golf to really expand even further.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Over the last 18 months, golf has really exploded. And just golf clubs closed. You can't get anything right now because the demand is so high,
right?
And there's no product. So it's very difficult to get a new driver. Is taking 8 to 10 weeks. So the demand of golf right now is very high, and people are spending more and more time outside, spending more and more money. And those are the people that are working from home. Hey, I'll shoot over and play 9 holes at the club. They think I'm working, whatever. Right. So golf is in a great, great spot right now, and I think we're going upwards.
If we can get deliveries. You know, they set records in club sales last July and August. You know, what was it? $8.5 billion in July, and then about $11 billion in August.
Oh my God!
Well, I don't think any of those companies realized. Well, we have to fill in the pipeline again.
Yeah.
And so that's where we are now. You can't find grips. You can't find shafts. Custom orders are just so hard to get. So
well, you look at there's one golf company in particular. They are so backed up on their current order, and they're launching new stuff over the next 2 weeks. And it's like, wait a minute, you haven't even fulfilled these orders over here,
right?
But you're releasing all this new stuff over here.
Yeah,
it's a little bit wild how the golf industry does work, but somehow it works out. So
the problem is that when you start golfing, especially if you're not a good golfer, but you become addicted in a way. And so you want it more. The next thing you know, it's like, okay, I'm gonna go buy a new set of clubs. So that's, you know, that in itself has probably helped with the demand. You know, these people sitting around not having to work as regularly in terms of going to work, but the component of being outside. Hey, golf's an outside game, no contact. So it's been great for golf. I mean, we had John Ashworth on the show earlier this year, and he has that little Goat Hill Park over there outside of San Diego.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah,
that's a cool place.
I don't know, 40-some thousand rounds last year during COVID. I mean, blew it out.
Yeah.
But what's happening up here in Nemacolin? I know we chatted a little bit about Mystic Rock, which, you know, for the listeners out there, Mystic Rock is the Pete Dye design here at Nemacolin.
They're both Pete Dye, bud.
I know, bud. All right. Hosted the 84 Lumber Classic. So tell us a little bit about some of the course changes that Mystic just underwent.
Well, you know, this was all lined up before I got here in February, so it was really neat to just come in and see the strategy and the plan. And Tim Liddy, you know, who was with Pete Dye for many years as a partner, has kind of been overseeing everything that's happened, and really smart. I mean, Pete always liked to be, as we used to say, he was notorious in being diabolical. You know, his courses are always played hard, but he was always a visual. You know, he wanted to mess with you visually all the time, which still happens out there. But, you know, we needed to modernize. You see a lot of the golf courses now going back to the old. I love that they're going back to the traditional courses, you know, like a Ross or a Rayner or McDonald, where they had, you know, just sand in the bottom of the bunkers. You get rid of the flashing up the sides, which you can't maintain anyway. And I like that we came in here with the company that did all the work and really went to that old traditional look, and we just eliminated a lot of the weird, really long finger bunkers that were hard to maintain as well, and the little small pot bunkers where you can't even stand in there in your ball.
17.
Yeah,
that I really like that change that they made on 17.
Yeah, so just really smart hole to hole. You know, we don't tell many of the members, but we added some bunkers too.
Well,
but I think they're more aiming points. You know, bunkers are not only, you know, penal in their design, but they're strategic.
Right.
and where you want to aim off of. Now, when I aim at them, I still go in them. You know, even try to work it off of there. It doesn't always work out that way, but there's some really cool, you know, when I take people out there to show them exactly what happened, I always go out to hole 15, the long par 4, and it's amazing because when you stand on the tee, it looks like one bunker on the left-hand side all the way to the green. But it's like an infinity pool. There's actually 4 bunkers down that side. So visually you're going, I can't go over there. And then more often than not, you might pull one and you're going to be in the fairway because there's quite a bit of an expanse from one bunker to the other. And I think that's just so cool visually off the tee. So there's a lot of little nuances in the bunkering that they did.
So those are new bunkers on 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing.
And that's a great hole. That stretch coming down is a great hole.
I love the bunker that they put in 3 in the right rough. Because that's the, you know, for players playing from the white, blue, or blacks, your miss is to go right, and it kicks off the rough into the fairway.
It becomes like a catch basin. Yeah.
So now they put a bunker right there in the middle where your landing point is, and now you can't just blow it right and be fine.
On the par 3?
Par 4.
Oh, okay. I thought you said 3.
I did say 3. 4. Okay, bud.
Yeah.
You always got to do this.
No, I was in my head going, wait, they put a bunker on a par 3. And I just,
that's all right.
It was
like on Shepherds, I always think 5 is 6 and vice versa.
Yeah.
I can't ever, once I get it there, I'm like, I'm lost.
You're either in or out, I guess.
You know, probably the most dramatic one I think is great is 18 as well.
Oh.
Because, you know, 18 had that cross bunker, which really, there was just no place for you to go except hard left, and then you had a really long iron fairway wood hybrid into the green. But now, completely turn that bunker where it faces and goes more in line with the green. And so we gain like 25 yards of fairway on the right-hand side, which is huge.
And now there's a couple of bunkers instead of just one.
Yeah.
Was there 4 or 5 now?
There's 4 or 5. I think there's 4. Like the 2 little ones that were at the green, they expanded those all the way back down in the rough on the right-hand side.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to getting out there and playing. Like I told you earlier, it's been years.
18's still hard, but it's
hard.
It's just more favorable to a wider margin of golfers now. No question.
So you came here in February of 2021, and you came from Texas, correct?
Right.
And where about in Texas?
Austin. I was in Austin, Texas for probably the last 20 years of my career.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a change in itself. Not even speaking golf course. I mean, you're talking about Austin, Texas to Fayette County, Pennsylvania.
He probably didn't own a vest
In no
Austin.
winters. I mean,
there was nothing. Just golf shirts.
We have winter down there for like 2 weeks.
yeah, and it goes into like the 40s.
Right.
You're up here, and this place is second to none. So
It is.
You know, I'm sure you're ecstatic about being here. So it'll be interesting to see come this fall and into December and January that you missed last year to see this is your first year.
Well, I was shoveling snow
in March.
and my car out for the first time ever in February, March. I was like, what am I doing here?
Right.
So
But
I got so skilled with a snow shovel, I'm trying to figure out how to make that into some kind of swing trainer. I think we can do that, work on the core.
Yeah, I like that. I like it.
don't break your wrist completely.
Right, exactly.
So your role here, I mean, you oversee all, director of golf. I mean, you're not giving any instruction. You're more or less, the main contact personnel overseeing the whole golf operation. Is that correct?
Being a golf pro's always fed me in that there's so many different things that you're responsible for and do. And I get really bored easily.
Yeah.
To where, like right in the middle of this, I might just leave. I won't, because it's going to be fun.
Well,
no, but
won't be the first or last.
Like in golf, I'm good for like 12 holes.
Yeah.
I just, I'm like,
That's it.
yeah.
Really?
But, like being a golf pro, I like messing around the shop, doing merchandising, stuff like that. But then I also like getting out, driving around, talking to the guests, talking to the members. I like doing that. And I'll go play a few holes with them, but I also like, I always I've always managed by walking around. So, even from day one, the guys outside said, "What are you doing down here in the cart barn?" I said, "Well, I want to see how you guys operate.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wash carts with you. I mean, I just like doing all of that. This year, I was the first one to pick the range.
Wow.
I want to make sure the machinery works, and you want to see how everything works. So I've always liked doing that.
That's awesome. That's commendable.
But I don't like doing that every day.
No.
Because I have people for that. But I just like, so I'm always, that's the way I've
always
always
learning.
managed. That's the way I like it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's good, and there's a lot to learn up here.
There's so much to learn up here. Just when you look at the agronomy side of things, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, I just can't believe when you look at the bunker renovation, how quickly the grass responds to, the sod lays down, and in a week the seams are gone, and it's like nothing happened there.
Yeah.
In Texas, it takes a long time.
Yeah, I can see that.
You had mentioned, I'm really excited for this part of this conversation.
The good stuff.
You had mentioned Mr. Ben Hogan, who is my all-time favorite golfer. The Hawk. You looked at the photos Jules Alexander took of him. That was the well-known photographer that followed Ben Hogan around, and his photos went for lots and lots of money when Jules passed away recently.
Yep.
How did you get involved with Hen Bogan? Right?
Henny Bogan, yeah.
Henny Bogan.
It was just happenstance. I had happened to be working at Mare Vista Country Club in Fort Worth as first assistant there, and Lindy Miller, who was on the tour for many, many years, was the club pro. And I learned a lot from Lindy as well. I mean, that guy, he could go. In fact, he did, when the Ben Hogan tour was, what Corn Ferry was now. I was when I was working at Hogan was, the Ben Hogan tour was it. Kind of the practice ground to get to the regular tour. Well, I can still remember, this is how great Lindy was as a player. They were going to have an event in Amarillo, and I still remember this. He hadn't played or touched a club in like 2 weeks, and he just took our club champion as his caddy. He went up to Amarillo and beat all those guys and won it.
Wow.
And comes back and's giving lessons and talked to people. It's like, no big deal. Just went up there and shot 64, 66, 64. Beat everybody.
It's
pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But got to be good friends with the sales rep for Hogan, and he said, there's an opportunity inside to be a product manager. Would you like to interview for that? I'm like, yeah, I mean, why not? So I went in and wound up getting the job, and it still cracks me up because, I'm a 28-year-old golf pro at the time, and they said, okay, you're responsible for $41 million in forecasting club sales and golf balls. I'm like, oh, 41 million, okay.
Right
Sure.
out the gate.
I got a lot of experience with that. None whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah. And, so that was fun. I worked with sales and marketing and got to be a part of, designing and meeting the, all the PGA Tour players who came in, in 1992. We had, we had Mark Brooks, we had Justin Leonard, we had Doug Sewell. We just had a lot of really good players. And I still remember this in that the Apex Iron had more wins than any other year, and it was the worst year for Apex sales.
Wow.
Just
That's
because,
crazy,
the mystique of Mr. Hogan,
Right.
he called his clubs jewelry, and they looked like jewelry for many, many years. And he his name was on the product. And they still go to when he opened the company, the first rollout of his irons, he didn't like them, so he scrapped like $100,000 worth of irons because they had his name on it. We're not going to produce this. We're not going to do it. So that 100,000 back in the mid '50s would be like millions today.
Yeah.
Just scrapping it, we're starting over, and that just really spoke to who I think Ben Hogan was. That's probably the highlight. Is I got to see Mr. Hogan every day. If you wanted to autograph it, had to go through me, and I'd take it over to his two secretaries, Sharon and Doxy, and they basically they had stacks of one-iron posters and books behind their desks, and it got to be when I worked for Mr. Hogan. He came in immaculate every day, coat and tie, gray suit, but all he did really was answer some answered letters, phone calls, and just basically wrote his name on posters. That's all he did. And he was there 8 to 12:30, Monday through Friday, and then he'd go to Shady Oaks and have lunch and sit at a big round table
By
for
himself,
like 12
right?
people by himself.
He loved dogs and children.
Yep.
I mean, again, I've read every single book of
Right.
Brent Hogan,
Yeah.
and the guy was as hard to get close to as it got. But when you got close to him, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, he was as sweet and caring
Right.
of a man
Yeah.
as it was.
That's why, you know, I've got a lot of Hogan memorabilia, and a couple of my favorite prints, photographs of him in my office are where he's smiling, because a lot of people just talk about how he's, you know, the English call him the wee Iceman, and you know, that was his workplace. He was working,
Mm-hmm.
but he could also be very funny. You know, like all the letters written that he'd write to friends, and he'd sign it Henny Bogan. He would do that all the time.
So he had a little humor to him.
He had a little personality from
Personality.
the way that the books portray him.
He
Again,
had a
that's
lot
why.
of personality. You know, I think probably the greatest detriment to him was, this is just my observation, but, you know, he was best friends with Byron Nelson.
Mm.
And Byron Nelson was very outgoing. And, you know, I remember meeting him once at the Byron Nelson tournament in Dallas, and then I saw him the next year, and he remembered my name. He remembered everybody's name. And that's part of the reason why the Nelson was such a powerful event, even though the golf course was not the greatest, because everyone wanted to go meet him after the round, and he did. You saw him on TV. Sitting at 18, he's gracious, he's very open. And so Hogan's association, you know how people are, they just assumed that Hogan would be just like Nelson, but they're just polar opposites.
Mm-hmm.
Different upbringing, everything, and just, I would say he was an introvert, but I think that drove to his desire, and he loved golf because he had to figure it out himself. He didn't need anybody's help. He didn't need any of that.
You know, they say a lot of it came from the way that Hogan was throughout his life, is that unfortunately when he was, 3 or 4 years old, he walked in and his father had killed himself in front of Hogan.
Right.
Took his own life, and they said that really, really affected Ben.
Absolutely.
Which, understandably so.
Yeah.
And they said that kind of just never left him, even through his adulthood. And that's kind of why he just, hey, I'm not standoffish, but I'm all right by myself over here type thing, right?
Well, and, there's all sorts of stories, and, I can verify a few of them, like I think it was Gary Player who first came up to meet him, and he wanted to find out, Mr. Hogan, how do you prepare for majors? What do you do? What do you think I should do? And he goes, well, what clubs do you play? And he goes, well, I play Dunlop Max Fly. And Mr. Hogan says, well, maybe you should go ask Mr. Dunlop Max Fly.
Oh.
So he always had things
He always
like
had an
that
answer, right, to something, right?
Yeah, I remember when, Nick Faldo was, number one in the world, and I think it was during Colonial, and he came out, and I still remember meeting Nick Faldo. Nick Faldo, he's 6'3", 6'4", number one in the world. He comes into our big lobby, and I meet him there, and he's got the fundamentals book in his hand, and he's visibly shaking that book. I mean, he's Nick Faldo. But he's getting ready to go see who I called the Pope of golf, Ben Hogan, in that back office.
Mm.
And then, the legendary story out of that meeting was Nick Faldo, again, preparing for majors, and he says, Mr. Hogan, how do I win majors? What do I need to do? And Hogan was always what scared people too is he would always take in what you're asking him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's processing, but there can be just scary silence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even with me, he'd do it a couple of times. And and just in my brain, I'm thinking, well, he's processing. Is this a 4-iron? Same thing with his golf game. But he just stared right through Nick Faldo, and then he finally said, the way to win majors, son, is you shoot one shot less than everybody else.
Wow.
Which
That's
to
so
me is...
Mm-hmm.
You just figure it out.
Yeah.
And you do better than everybody else. Hogan was the first guy to ever practice.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody practiced at that time.
That's what I was going to ask you, his work.
That's the only thing that I never saw with him, is I never saw him hit balls, and I wish I did.
I was just going to ask you, because
that's the only thing about Mr. Hogan I never got to see. There's a lot of funny stories. Another thing that he did, and he started at the British Open, which no players at that time, you're talking about the 50s. The caddy couldn't believe what he was doing, but he started on 18 green and walked the course backwards to see where he wanted his landing points to be. Nobody did that before. So he was
ahead of his time.
Not only precision, but just what he was thinking about and how he went about his business on a golf course was pretty uncanny and
Yeah, out of the times.
Yeah.
Really.
You think about him back in the 50s and 60s, he was hitting it with persimmons and wound golf balls 270, 275. Imagine what the technology is. My dad always says if Ben Hogan watched Tiger hit balls, he would be rolling in his grave just because he is all over the map.
Yeah.
And Ben Hogan was just, they say that his caddy would literally one hop. His caddy could just stand there and he'd one hop drivers.
Yeah.
Caddy would catch it, throw it in the bag. He barely had to move with a driver.
That consistent.
Again, with persimmon and wound golf balls, he was that long, and that's what people don't understand, and you would understand it better than anybody, is how strong he really was.
He was not, he was like 5'7", 5'8", but his hands were huge. Before there were reminders, he would put a coat hanger or a big rope cord in the back. And what was crazy, there's only one person I've seen whose clubs are as crazy as his, and that's Bubba Watson, is he had the reminder on there, so all his clubs were really open. Wide open. Because I remember swinging one of his drivers and just holding it, and the face is going way out to the right.
Wow.
Because he knew he had just come through and he could go as hard as he wanted
through
with
the
his
ball.
right side, and it's not going to go over here. Because he fought a hook for most of his career, and he figured out how to get rid of that.
Wow.
So that was part of that was that. The other thing that fascinated me when you look at the shaft flex scale, at Hogan, 3 was regular, 4 was stiff, and 5 was extra stiff. His were 7s.
Not even on the chart.
No.
Extra.
And the other thing he did too, which other people and even a lot of the tour players now do it with their wedges, is he had all the chrome taken off his clubs too. He wanted raw steel. He wanted it to rust up because he felt like he was going to get more spin off the ball with that, which a lot of guys still do with their wedges today.
It's just so interesting to hear these stories. This goes back to the, early times of golf, and to be able
But
to think.
you hit on it as well that I always talk about. When you look at what they played golf with and how they won events and how they controlled their golf ball around the golf course with those clubs, it's unbelievable.
That's what people don't understand is how talented those guys really were. And again, the golf courses back then, you actually had to hit the shots.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that right now, but right now it's a little, you look at the U.S. Opens right now. Rough, slow. You miss a fairway, it's not exactly punishing right now.
It's not.
You look at Bryson DeChambeau, the guy hits it. Yeah, he hits at 400 yards. He doesn't hit very many fairways.
No.
Because where he's hitting it is rough. Well, the grooves are a little bit deeper. The ball spins a little bit more. It's just there's so many more variables right now. And, again, you look at – that's why I think I'm so interested in Ben Hogan. He's a mystique.
Right.
People don't realize that, how good he really was. And they didn't play for the money then.
Right.
They played for the events and the win.
Right.
And that's what people say, Tiger Woods can come back like Ben Hogan did. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think Tiger Woods is coming back.
I don't either.
Like Ben Hogan did.
Yeah. I wish him the best, but gosh, I
don't know how you do it. Because he's had a lot of previous injuries, and that all adds up. who knows what they've never said anything would happen to Tiger's back. And Hogan got hit by a tractor trailer 54, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in 54, and he won the U.S. Open in 56 at Marion. That's everybody remembers. That's the 1-iron shot on 18 at Marion that everyone has in their basement or whatever. So I just think that that back in the day was so cool. I mean,
Right.
you look at Hogan, he was dressed to a T before fashion was even, I mean, he took
Right.
pride in how
Classic.
he showed up, and
Mhm.
I just think that's so cool.
So that photo that is extremely popular, probably the most popular
Mhm.
photo of Hogan teeing off there. What's the story behind that photo? Because I know there's a story behind it where he told somebody.
Well, I have
And-
the story from when I played in U.S. Junior Amateur.
Okay.
So I played in the U.S. Junior Amateur in 2003, and I don't know if I told you this story, but Columbia Country Club. Older gentleman followed me around, was a member at Columbia Country Club, and I think they said that he's played in every USG event 3 times, this guy.
Wow.
So he follows me in the practice round after we're having lunch with this guy, and he said, yeah, and he confirmed that, and he said, but what I'm really known for is in 1956, I was a kid standing at Marion, and a camera rested on my shoulder, and the photographer said, don't move, kid.
And he took that
And
picture.
that was that photo, the 1 iron.
Wow.
So
Really?
again, might not be true, but it's a cool story that this
Yeah.
older guy.
There's a couple of cool things about that week. Was Hogan never carried a 1 iron. Never played
Never.
with one.
So he put it in the bag that week.
So he put in the bag that week, and he would, another classic Hogan answer is they asked him, so to put the 1 iron in, what club did you take out? Took out the 7 iron.
Wow.
And you look at the 7 iron, when you look at any level of golfer, that's usually one of the favorites, or it's just because of the length and the loft of a 7 iron, everybody's most comfortable with that club. And they said, Mr. Hogan, why'd you take 7 iron out of your bag? And he, gave him the look, and he says, well, because there's not a 7 iron shot on this golf course.
Wow.
How about that?
That's incredible. What's your most memorable memory with Mr. Hogan, or your, I guess your latest memory, the last thing you remember?
The one I tell everybody, which kind of speaks to who he was as a player and as an older gentleman and just what he thought of himself is, I went back there one time because the secretaries called and said he needs some help with some technology. And I go in there and someone had sent him one of those TV VCRs, a little one for his desk. And, they said, I don't know how to use this. I don't know what to do with this. And so I went and set it up and just plugged it in. Said, here you go. He goes, okay, great. And then I'm getting ready to leave. He goes, Kelly, what do you think I do all day? I said, well, Mr. Hogan, you come in, you answer, you do correspondence, you talk to people on the phone. He goes, yeah, I mean, that's all I do. And I sign my name on stuff. And he goes, have you ever tried to sign your name on a golf ball? And I'm like, no, sir, I haven't. He goes, it's really hard. Why do people want that? I mean, it's really hard to do. He goes, I'm an old has-been, and this is all I do with my life. And I go, well, Mr. Hogan, you're one of the greatest golfers of all time. And I got the stare, and he goes, yeah, 50 effing years ago. And he was serious.
Oh,
That's
that's a good one, man. That's crazy.
I would go back there in his office when he wasn't there and still get chills up and down my arm just going back there, but just because of who he was, what he commanded, all that respect he had.
Mm-hmm. Now he has kids still living, right?
No,
None.
they never had kids.
Wow.
So he doted on, he had a niece and nephew. He took care of them, but he left a lot of money to University Christian Church, which was right by TCU, because he made a lot of money in oil and gas as well. Always doing that. And, he only designed one golf course, Trophy Club, up kind of in the Colony South Lake area. It's the only course he ever designed. But, again, something attributable to Ben Hogan at the time. He felt like designing that club, he was going to be able to host TV events, so they built underground cabling for TV. Never been done before, which was never used because the golf course was never done that. But
yeah.
to his insight, and whoever he was working with thought about doing that. It's just crazy the things that he would do.
Well, Valerie, his wife, just passed. Didn't she just pass recently? In the last couple of years?
It's probably been maybe just a little longer than that. But
yeah, they said that dogs and kids were like, he would go out of his way for any of it, either one. He always had his dog with him.
Right.
Pretty cool. And again, my favorite images of Hogan are him smoking cigarettes, because he's just got that look. I mean, like, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't talk much to the other tour players, and I think part of that's that intimidation factor. He knew that he didn't have to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he had no control over what they were doing, which we all should take that into consideration too, because look at all the players that play with Tiger and just got swept up into the crowds and everything else, and they were gone.
Well, we're good friends with Bob Rotella, and Dr. Rotella was telling me a story that you're talking about Tiger and the Tiger effect, quote unquote, and Paul Azinger was leading after the second round of, I forget what event, and he called Dr. Rotella saying, what the hell? I'm leading, and they got Tiger on the front cover. He said, that's not something you can control.
Right.
Why you don't worry about that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You worry about your picture will be on the cover if you win the event.
Mm-hmm.
And just that was that Tiger effect. They didn't care who was leading or anything. It was all about Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the Hogan effect back in the day too.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not, but I got to believe it's got to be true that, Hogan's playing some event, and I can't remember who the player was with them, and, where you come off the green, you go to the next tee, and you confirm with the player you're playing with, because you're keeping their score, what they had, and Hogan turns to whoever it was, he goes, so what'd you have back there? He says, I had a 1.
That story I can confirm.
Yeah.
Bill Campbell told me that story.
Yeah.
No lie. Bill Campbell out of West Virginia, he was the only guy, he spoke to our Marshall golf team every year. He was the only guy to ever be the president of the USGA and the RNA.
Yeah.
And that was him who it happened to.
Oh, it was.
At the Masters, he had a 1, and he said, I go to tee off on the next hole, and Mr. Hogan says, what'd you make back there? And he said, I had a 1. And he said, okay, it's your tee.
Wow.
Not like, no good shot or, wow, crazy, I missed it. Bill Campbell.
Right.
Unbelievable.
That
I
is
didn't know it was Bill
crazy.
Campbell. That's just great.
Because he told that story, I want to say my junior or senior year, because I obviously asked, what were your run-ins with Ben Hogan? And he said, I'll never forget this. And he said, that's why they called him the Hawk.
Right.
I mean, they just
Laser focus on what he was doing. Yeah.
Again, that conversation, that we could go on for days with that. But tell us a little bit about your golf game.
What golf game?
All right. Well, I mean, you've been playing. Which course do you like more up here? Shepherd's, Mystic, or it doesn't matter?
It's just really sad.
Okay.
I just get so immersed in the operation. I've gotten to the point in my golf career which I really like helping others, and I need to help myself.
Yeah.
And as you get older, when I turned 50, it seemed like I lost 10 yards every year off the tee. And there's something humbling about that. And and I think about all the older pros I've known through the years, and that you get to where it's hard to say that your best golf's behind you. And I was thinking about that for a while, but then when I was furloughed last year, had the opportunity when I was looking for the next opportunity, which turned out to be here, thankfully. I went out because I was never a range guy at all. So I went out to the range, started with wedges, and I started playing with some buddies of mine, and I got my game back a little bit. I had 2 pretty severe foot injuries where I had to have surgery, to where it was so bad that I thought I'd need to change careers and just have a sit-down job for a while. Mm-hmm. But through therapy and things like that, I got to work through all that. But, as I'm a golfer like everybody else, through all that pain, I still wanted to go out and play. So I really learned to play. We're sitting down now, and that was my visual, is I just swung my arms because I couldn't really rotate. I couldn't use any of my legs at all because, I'd just like you're getting stabbed going in the back, kind of a little stack and tilt, and then I blew out the other one 4 years later. And so my game really, really suffered. My short game got good because you had to, but even now, and that's been 12 years ago, I still because in golf, you either want to compensate or you're going to correct.
Right.
And more often than not, more people want to compensate because it's just easier. And so I know exactly what I need to do to hit it better, to hit it farther, but there's still a comfort level. Well, I've always done it this way, and I can just hit this baby little thing out there, and I can find it again. So I'm just like everybody else. But my enthusiasm for coming up here, not only, and I love both courses, and I love how different they are, which really speaks to great design features. And it's great not only for our membership, but for all our guests to come play up here. Because the thing that makes me crazy is going to play a multi-course facility, and they feel the same. And another thing that makes me crazy, too, is, when you get on a course in par threes, and I hit 8-iron the last 3 par threes. I like variety and like all that. And one of the main reasons I love coming up here was, Pennsylvania has more top 100 courses than any other state in the union.
It's crazy.
There's so much great golf up here that I haven't played. I've only played Fox Chapel, and I played Latrobe with some friends when I came up here back in 2012. So,
well, you're missing a lot of them.
My motivation to get better is like I want to go to Oakmont and just not be a train wreck.
Right.
There's so many. I just want to enjoy all these places, going to Laurel, and just not make a
fool,
total idiot out of myself.
Which is what we
go to the shop after 9 and buy more golf balls.
I know that happens.
Yeah.
So in this podcast here, Kelly, we have a segment of our show, which is called the Tap-In segment. We're going to roll into that Tap-In segment right now, and Jonathan will ask you 4 or 5 questions that require your witty response.
Well, I didn't know I needed to be ready for this and homework.
It's on the on the cuff, so to speak. So
we got this first question from a mutual friend.
Oh no,
of ours, and Mr. Tom Smith.
Oh yeah.
So is college as inexpensive as you tell everyone?
Was college what?
Is college as inexpensive as you tell everyone for your girls?
I don't say that it's not inexpensive.
He said he had mentioned how expensive it is.
I've got my youngest is at film school out in California her last year, and then my oldest, thankfully she got a job. She just finished at UVA Law. Got her
very
MBA
nice.
too.
Charlottesville's beautiful.
Like everybody says, and I agree that my wife is really smart.
Yeah.
She didn't get it from my side, but she's my retirement, hopefully.
Well, let's get into the real stuff. After a round cocktail.
After a round cocktail, who's buying?
Bash is.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
I really like Angel Envy a lot.
There you go.
And I get a bottle of that every birthday
every
in
day.
March. 3 fingers of that, I'm good.
You like the rye?
Yeah.
The rye is awesome.
Yeah, I love the rye.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of my goals, we talked about playing more is 2 years ago before the show, I went to Stream Song. And part of my goals there was to survive because, you have to walk.
Yeah.
So my assistant and I, we walked 30 holes that day.
Hello.
We did all the black, and it was a pretty cool loop. And then we did 6 on Doak and 6 on Coeur Crenshaw. I carried.
You did it.
And my greatest memory is sitting at the bar having 3 fingers of Angel Envy after that. Because it was the coldest day coldest January day they've had in forever. It was blowing sideways about 30.
Oh, man.
And it was like 40 degrees. But, we're golfers. We're going. We're going stream song. We're playing.
Absolutely.
So it tasted good.
It was so good. And the golf was spectacular. And that's an amazing place, too, because it's in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Favorite golf course? I know it's a loaded question, but when somebody says what place is the hardest place to get on and it was your favorite?
Since I haven't played much, for years it was Southern Hills because I got to play it a few times and just that classic historic place. But replaced is and it's right down the road is Fox Chapel. Because when I brought some members up here and we got to meet Arnold, it was an amazing trip. Because this guy's been a longtime fan, like so many people are Arnold Palmer's, but Arnold's birthday is September 10th, like my oldest son's September 10th. So I knew, and he's always in Latrobe during that time. So we got a house. It was in September. The weather was horrible.
Wow.
All week. It rained every day.
Oh.
But, the first day we're having breakfast, couldn't have gone any better because Arnold walks in.
Oh, my God.
Are you kidding me? And he said, it looks like rain, boys, but if you're not doing anything, why don't you come by my office this afternoon? And I was like,
yeah. All right.
yeah. And and we got to sit down in his office and talk to Arnold for 30 minutes.
Just a normal guy.
Yeah.
That's
unbelievable.
Awesome.
There's another guy with big hands.
Right.
Mm.
I mean, those hands are huge.
Yeah. And then so during that week, Oakmont was closed with temporaries. So I never played so much golf in my rain suit in my life.
And that's
so I should have been reminded of that when I got up here. But the only one afternoon, the sun came out, and it happened to be when we played Fox Chapel.
Yeah, that's great.
So that happened too. But I love Seth Rayner's stuff too.
I love
the green complexes. I love everything about it. And I played good. I shot 73 and cleaned their clocks.
Hello.
So that was good too. So that's
I love
my
it.
latest. But these two, I love what our superintendent, Chris Anderson, said, because, being here, working here, I'm like, well, where else should I go play? He goes, there's no reason to go play anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because we have the two best. I'm like,
Bingo.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, they're both awesome right now. So,
right.
All right. And favorite piece of Ben Hogan memorabilia?
Tough one.
That I own?
That you own.
Yeah. It's probably because it's a picture that I hadn't seen, and it's the big one in my office. That it's the guys that I took on the trip to Latrobe. They bought it at Augusta, and
Wow.
he's got him smiling, and he's sitting, down with his clubs right here. I'd never seen that before,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave it to me as a gift for that trip.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I'm always trying to find pictures of Hogan smiling,
Yeah.
just because of I defend him,
Mhm.
to my grave all the time
Yep.
about who he was.
Mhm.
Right.
And he would warm up to you.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at those guys, and I think about all the modern players as well. Somebody always wanted something from him
Mm-hmm.
because of his greatness. Well, he figured it out himself, and he basically told people, get on the range and figure out yourself.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Because what he does, based on the size of his hands, his strength,
Mm-hmm.
and what he did after the accident, it's not going to work for everybody else.
Right.
There's a lot of things within his book, fundamentals-wise, that can work, but you can't do what he did. Got to figure it out.
Well, bud,
You gotta get in
guess
the dirt.
what? And that's not chunking shots either, all right?
Or slicing,
The more you hit, the more you practice, the luckier you get.
Mhm.
Right.
Mr. Ben Hogan.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, we appreciate the time you've given us today, Kelly. And we're here at Falling Rock in the men's locker room recording this podcast. Make sure you come up here and check out Nemacolin. Everything they have, golf courses, is just a small fraction of the place, really.
It's been a pleasure. I hope there's a part 2 and a part 3.
We will.
Okay, good.
Hey,
Thank
Kelly,
you.
thanks so much, guys.
It's a pleasure.
And everybody get out there and chase some birdies.
Let's go to the first tee.
Amen. Let's do it.
All right.
All right, my man. I mean, hey, Kelly got it done, man. The Hogan stories were epic, huh?
He got it done, and I wonder if old Kelly would snoop around Hogan's bag at all and has a few extra clubs for me to take. But
Well, we already saw.
dynamite stories.
Yeah, bud. All right, we already saw you hit a persimmon. All right. I mean, you hit it further than everyone. So, yeah.
Practice, play better, right? I don't know what else to tell you. Thank you again to Kelly O'Donnell for coming on. I mean, the stories were awesome. And again, to be around that much history every day with Mr. Ben Hogan is pretty special. And
Kelly, he's ready to come back for more. He wants to come back for another episode 2, episode 3.
well, my man Kelly, we could have probably had like a 24-hour episode going with him. He's got a lot of stories, that's for sure, but they're good stories. They're enjoyable. And thank you again to Kelly O'Donnell. We greatly appreciated the time, and your episode came out, bud. You didn't think it was going to come out. It's out.
Yeah, he kept saying, all right, you guys just put me to the back burner. But no. We just had this little chronological order thing going on. So thank you, Kelly. And guys, we're going to be dropping an episode a little off schedule due to the Thanksgiving holiday. So instead of Thursday the 25th, we're going to move it up a day to Wednesday the 24th. And you want to tell them who we got coming on?
Yeah, November 24th, we have Matt Stell, country singer, songwriter. He's doing it all. And I'll tell you this much, the guy's not short at all.
Oh, really?
I don't know if some of you have seen the photos, but back shower looks like an armrest to hip. So that's nice. But we got a couple hits out. Just launched a few songs too. So the guy's rolling. He's traveling all over the country singing some songs, bringing music to your ears while we're bringing podcasts to your ears. And we can't wait for you to hear this one because, again, to hear from a country music star's perspective of how bringing the song to all your ears is really cool. And then we get into the golf, and I mean, this guy's got to have custom golf clubs, right?
Well, now with the new driver rule in place, that's definitely not playing in his favor, for sure. But
and trust me, all the ladies, I'm sure, have heard Matt Stell's song "I Prayed for You," and if you haven't, go listen to it, and you've heard it on the radio.
Yeah.
So we can't wait to bring this to you guys.
Yeah, you guys stay tuned. We got some new merch coming out here soon on chasinbirdies.co. Yeah.
How good is that?
Yeah.
We got 3 different items from Holderness and Bourne coming on. We got women's t-shirts, a men's t-shirt, a hoodie.
Yeah.
And we got 6 new items coming to your phone that you can order just in time for Black Friday that you can buy your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, some merch for the holidays to lounge around in, watch football, watch basketball, hockey. So make sure you go check it out.
I'd wear all 6. Even the
one.
ladies' tee, but I mean, that thing is smoking. So ladies out there, be on the lookout. We need to get you in some of this swag, pushing this brand a little bit. The brand, Chasin Birdies. We appreciate all the love. You know, again, thank you for listening to this episode with Kelly O'Donnell. Stay tuned on the 24th of November with Matt Stell.
Man, thank you again to everybody for listening to it, and keep telling your friends. It's growing like crazy. Chasinbirdies.co for the merch. Chasin_birdies for Instagram. Facebook, like it. And other than that, just see it high, let it fly, and live life.
Amen, boys. Hey, y'all have a great evening, great day, great rest of your weekend or week. And thank you to Simpler Media for putting this together, and Rachel London for all her social work she's done for us thus far. So y'all have a good day.